I'm Dylan Huffman. We begin tonight with a very sad story. It's a story that you first saw on WNCT.com. Congressman Walter B. passed away this afternoon in Greenville. He was 76 years old. The congressman represented the people of eastern North Carolina for more than 34 years. Tonight, our Ken Watling has a look back at the congressman's life and career.
Walter Beeman Jones Jr. was born on February 10, 1943 in the Pitt County town of Farmville. The son of a lifelong politician and public servant, Jones would follow the same path. His father, Walter Jones Sr., served 14 terms in the United States House of Representatives. During a conversation with WNCT's Alan Hoffman in 2014, Jones looked through old photographs, reflecting on what his father meant to him. This picture in particular stood out. In Washington, D.C., March of 1992, a young man and his dad.
So I kneel beside my father, and this picture was made with me kneeling beside my father, and he died in September of that year.
This is a special picture for you.
It is special because of my love for my father and the influence he had on my life. He helped me understand that if you're given the privilege to serve the people, you can do some good.
His father's 26 years in Congress sparked his son to politics. First 10 years in the North Carolina House, then 12 terms in the United States House of Representatives.
I'm a workhorse, not a show horse.
That bluntness all started when he changed parties from Democrat to Republican to win his congressional seat in 1994.
At that time, I felt that our party, the principles of the Republican Party, advocated what I really thought was in the best interest of America.
At the time?
At the time.
Is it still?
Not as much as it needs to be, and I think that is showing itself when you've got the fastest growing category in North Carolina is unaffiliated.
Jones served on the House Armed Services Committee. As he told WNCT in January of 2012 at the ceremonial groundbreaking for the expansion of the Greenville VA outpatient clinic, he chose to focus on the military because of another family member.
Why are you so passionate about our veterans and the military?
Well, it really goes back to my grandfather. He was a World War I veteran, and he was gassed at the Battle of the Oregon Forest, and I never knew him. And my father never talked much about him, but I got my grandfather's records when I first went to Congress, and I found out that when he returned from World War I, he was in and out of hospitals. He had a drug problem, he had an alcohol problem, and was never the same person. Took his own life, as a matter of fact, when he was 34 years of age.
Jones said his passion for the military comes down to doing what is right. However, as he told Night on Your Side in 2017, there was a time when he thought he made the wrong choice.
I will go to my grave regretting that I gave George Bush the authority to go into Iraq. I had the concerns at the time, but I was not strong enough to vote my conscience. I will believe to this day that if Saddam was still in power, all these jihadist groups would not be growing out here in the Middle East. I really believe that.
Late in life, he held on to what he called the book.
All these are letters I have gotten back from families who received condolence letters. I've signed over 11,000 letters. I don't even read them. I can't read them because emotionally it bothers me that I sent their kids to die for an unnecessary war.
Jones also committed his life to preserving and protecting North Carolina's unique history and culture. In 1998, he passed legislation to protect the wild horses on Shackelford Banks. After that, he worked with numerous North Carolina legislators, continuing to preserve our state's wild horses. In 2010, Congressman Jones was named number 17 out of 535 on the Hill newspaper's 25 hardest working lawmakers list. In 2004, a survey of top Capitol Hill staff conducted by Washingtonian magazine ranked Congressman Jones number 1 out of the 435 U.S. House members in the just plain nice category.
All in all, if I can't do what I think is right for the people, then I probably shouldn't be there.
Jones' time in Congress saw 4 presidents in the White House, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans.
My chief of staff says about me, when Walter Jones goes to vote, I don't know if he's going to vote as a conservative or as a populist or as a libertarian.
Is that a positive?
Well, to me it is.
And dozens of lawmakers and state officials are speaking out about Jones, including Governor Cooper, who released this statement, which says in part, "I am grateful for the life and service of my longtime friend, Congressman Walter B. Jones, Jr. He was a public servant who was true to his convictions, and he will be missed." And North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis says, quote, "Congressman Walter B. Jones was the true embodiment of a public servant. He will be remembered for his tireless advocacy for Eastern North Carolina."